This is In Step with Compliance, a podcast by the Modern Practice Solutions team for dental professionals.
Welcome to In Step with Compliance, produced by Modern Practice Solutions. I'm Olivia Wan, your host. Today, we are discussing a topic of interest, and that is, what is the true cost of free email accounts? And Terry Walker, one of our longtime compliance consultant, has gathered some facts and information that you will find very useful in adding to your practice and discussing with your team members. So to kick off this episode, Terry, what have you identified in working with our compliance clients as it relates to their email accounts?
Great question, Olivia. One of the most common concerns that I come across is they're not using a business level email account. And they might tell me that they're using, we're using a business account, but their email ends in hotmail.com or gmail.com or something like that. And I'm like, so they now have a paid version is kind of my question.
Right.
So
they're not using a business email. What is the concern as it relates to HIPAA?
Well, you have to consider the stringent requirements outlined by the HIPAA security rule, which are essential to ensuring that your HIPAA compliant email communication. A HIPAA compliant email provider must implement robust security measures to safeguard the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the patient's data. Furthermore, they must be equipped to generate audit logs and monitoring tools to detect and report any unauthorized access to this sensitive information.
So I don't think people even realize that their email accounts are part of their HIPAA compliance. So if they're using it for their practice, this is a critical area to evaluate. So Brenda, what are some of the dangers of email accounts? I know that you talk to a lot of folks doing HIPAA risk assessments. What do you perceive as a danger if they're using, say, a personal email account?
Yeah, that is a great question. So one of probably the most significant risks is the increased probability of a data breach, because these free email accounts, are not encrypted and they don't have the appropriate programming in place to secure up security. So the fact that they're using those increases the probability that they could be exposed to a data breach. And also using a free email provider, it often, as I just mentioned, it often lacks the encryption that is required and doesn't protect the information that's being transferred out of the office.
And that's how they offer it for free, because it populates ads based on the algorithms of what people are searching for on the internet or what those email contents reveal. And
Yes.
it doesn't have the filters, as you mentioned, or the level of protection. And under the old HIPAA security rules, encryption is mentioned as being addressable. But what we understand for the proposed new HIPAA security rules, that what was previously listed as addressable will be now required, because encryption is readily available. And so, like at our office, we use business version. Microsoft 365 email does have a level of encryption. It does have some of the monitoring tools. And it's only like $6 per person if you don't have Word and PowerPoint and Excel. So a much needed area to evaluate. But what happens if there is a breach, Caitlin? What's the concerns for the financial repercussions?
It might help to think about a scenario if you consider that oftentimes non-enterprise level emails don't have certain filters like spam filters or phishing filters. One of your employees clicks on a phishing link, And before you know it, you may have downloaded malware, or they may have been prompted to input sensitive data, for example, the login information for your practice management system. So in a case like that, you've now had a breach. The cost of a breach can be quite considerable. A few things you'll have to do, and potentially, if you're not appropriately insured, pay for out of pocket, include notification of all affected patients. That can be quite expensive. Additionally, you're likely to need a forensic analysis to determine what was going on in your computer system prior to and following the breach. Additionally, it would be highly advisable to retain a lawyer at this point, which, as you know, can be quite expensive. And that's not to even touch on fees, fines that may be issued by the Office of Civil Rights. So whatever you're spending on an enterprise level email is small potatoes compared to what you will have to spend if you do have a breach.
Yeah, that $6 per email account sounds cheaper and cheaper, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And we know for a fact in working with people that breaches have occurred. I know for me personally, I've handled several breaches that were the result of the personal free email use. And when they run this forensics, that's where the cyber attack occurred. And as you mentioned, we're at risk for phishing emails. So it does make sense that we explore implementing enterprise level email accounts. And a copy of this blog will be on the website, modernpracticesolutions.com. So we really appreciate our trainers, Brenda, Terry, and Caitlin, contributing to this episode of the podcast. If you need additional information, hop onto the website and send us a contact form. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.